So today I want to look at the most important question of all time. Is rock music dead? And I mean really dead this time. Not like the other 50 years of people prophesying its death. I mean, is it actually gone now? So in this quest to discover if rock music actually is dead, I thought I would actually ask some other people. I'm part of a Facebook group, Modern Guitarists. It seems like a really good place. It's not filled with the usual kind of... Oh, sorry, email come through. It's not filled with the usual kind of anger and toxic hate. There seems to be some really sensible conversation on there, which is really nice. So, responses to my question. One was a chap called Brett Stokes from Modern Guitarists. He said, no, it's just evolved. He expanded on this to say that rock, as it's commonly perceived, is pretty much dead. But I think because of its evolution, it's actually the fandom that hasn't quite got its head around what rock music is now. And rock music's probably more diverse than it's ever been. And I think because some of us maybe are still looking for the next Master of Puppets or, you know, the next massive rock album like that, we're not really appreciating what's actually there. And we're possibly too busy worrying about new bands sounding too much like old bands, possibly Greta Van Fleet, and yeah, something along those lines. So yeah, Brett Stokes, thank you for your point. Someone who wanted to remain anonymous said, no, it's not. Rock is more alive than ever, and it's easier than ever thanks to modern technology to connect with new and classic artists. I really agree with that. I know Spotify has got a really bad rap with the rock fandom because our music isn't necessarily represented well enough, but it's not doing badly. I think it's representative of the imbalance between rock and pop sales in general, and possibly just because a lot of rock fans are purists, maybe they're still investing in the physical media as opposed to the digital media, and that full switch hasn't happened yet. And if you look at bands like Def Leppard, they only recently signed a streaming agreement because they were holding out for a good deal. And I think this is how Spotify itself will evolve. I think eventually artists will get more and more power over their Spotify or Apple Music or whatever deals, their distribution deals, and that will become the standard, and hopefully they'll do better financially out of it. But it is a promotion platform. If these platforms are driving people to gigs and live music seems to be at its peak at the moment, then that can't be a bad thing. Christopher Warden. I love Christopher's answer, was fantastic. Not in this house. So obviously I'm assuming in Christopher's house, whoever's in his house has to endure his rock music, much like my family have to endure mine. Whenever I go in, the first point of contact for me is usually Echo or Alexa to play some rock song that I had in my head all day that I didn't have downloaded on my phone or on CD. Now, I'm going to apologise if I pronounce your name incorrectly. Peter Bloman. Rock and metal are dead in a way and have never been more alive in the same way. The problem is that the established big ticket names still dictate the game and voice. I would agree with that. Time for this era's voice to get the same room as the old, in his opinion. Every time has their need to express themselves, and in my opinion, we got skills flying off the roof but still being dictated to playing X, Y or Z way instead of let it run wild and off the rails to see where it takes us. I would agree with that completely. And again, this comes back to the fandom not willing, not being happy to kind of let it evolve. I'm a huge Greta Van Fleet fan. I think they're one of the most incredible bands to have come out recently, and I know that there's a very loud voice, certainly on the Ultimate Guitar forums, to say they're terrible, they're a Led Zeppelin ripoff, no one should listen to them, they're useless. But the truth of the matter is they're not. They're absolutely fantastic. Obviously, this is all opinion. I'm not sort of saying anyone else is wrong, but what I am saying is sometimes the way it's put across makes it so counterproductive. But that's in both camps, isn't it? That's the fanboy camp, and that's the kind of extreme hater camp. Neither of them are willing to kind of meet in that middle ground and say, all right, yeah, I don't like Greta Van Fleet because they remind me of Led Zeppelin, but it's so cool to have a rock band being recognised at the moment. Surely that's got to be a good thing. So yeah, I'm loving Greta Van Fleet. And the way I see it is, if I was a 12, 13-year-old guitarist that never heard Led Zeppelin before and Greta Van Fleet were a band that excited me, that's a great doorway into getting into some more traditional, less influenced by what's come before it, rock music. How can that be bad? So I think a lot of it, in my opinion, and I've been guilty of it myself, is the fandom needs to move forward. When I was guilty of it was with Linkin Park and definitely Bring Me the Horizon. So obviously Bring Me the Horizon now are a very poppy, synthy band, but they've still got that rock attitude, which I think is something we forget. Sometimes it's the attitude as much as having like this massively heavy guitar playing. So yeah, so there are lots of ways to look at this. I put a video up a little while back about music theory. Is it important for guitarists? And very kindly, a chap called Anthony Couch, guitarist on YouTube, messaged me and he said, cool stuff, you know, really like what you're doing. So I thought, hey, there's a chance to have some interaction and collaboration. So I reached out to Anthony, said, look, I'm doing this video, would you mind making a comment? And he very kindly sent me a video, and here's what Anthony had to say.
Hello Phil, yes it's me, it's Anthony Couch here, a guitarist on YouTube, and you have just caught me in the middle of recording my first collection of songs. Not really, that's just Cubase open on a random project and this guitar isn't even plugged in. I just thought I'd say all that to look a bit more professional. But thank you for asking me this question. Is rock dead? Well, it was a massive talking point, I think, when Gene Simmons coined those immortal words. I don't agree. I think rock is not dead. I think people like to believe that rock is dead because people like to have a good old moan about stuff, about the good old days, and get very nostalgic. If you think about music, a genre, you know, there's loads of different genres of music over here, and then one new genre comes in and it goes poof, like this, and it causes such a massive stir and is all over the telly, all over the radio, gets promoted on all the streaming sites, is used in film and TV. It's the big thing. It's incorporated into fashion, into everything, advertising, and it makes this massive stir, and then just eventually just goes over into that big pool of music again, which all influences each other. You know, to say rock is dead is really daft, I think. To say that any genre of music is dead is folly, frankly. That's my thoughts on it. I could go into more detail, but I don't want to take up more time on your brilliant and beautiful guitar channel. So yes, I've been Anthony Couch, thank you very much. Now everyone listen to Phil, he is going to say something very interesting right now.
I definitely agree with everything Anthony has to say in that video, and he puts it across so well. And if only more conversations were like that. And I think it's absolutely right. There does seem to be this very loud voice expressing all this negativity towards modern rock music. But I don't really know, to be honest with you, if that voice is of the many. I had a look at some numbers for Spotify to see sort of where we all stood. And yeah, you go to artists like Taylor Swift, in excess of 10 million monthly listeners easily. The figures for the rock bands aren't quite as impressive, but they never have been. You know, I remember growing up in a time where Take That were the big sellers. You know, whatever Metallica did, take that in certainly the UK sold more. So I've never been part of a massive rock culture. But nowadays it just seems to be in the exact same position, but not in a bad position. Greta Van Fleet, 2.5 million monthly listeners for a new band. That's pretty impressive. Ghost, I was expecting a little bit more. It's 1.5 million, just over for Ghost. Calio, nearly 4 million. That's amazing. Blink 182 in at 10 million. By the way, I might have got Taylor Swift's figures very wrong. I only had a brief look. Metallica, right. Metallica, AC/DC and Guns N' Roses. 12 million, 15 million, 15 million monthly listeners. That's not bad going. And these bands, it's never been about radio play. It's never been about selling the largest amount of singles or being the biggest influence on pop music society. It's about being part of that really cool culture and seeing them live, you know, and having someone to inspire you, which leads me to my final point for this video. I read a lot of things where it says, you know, there's no new young guitarists coming up to kind of to be inspired, to join new bands, to make new bands, to make something really great. I don't like talking in absolutes, but just me, my experience as a guitar teacher, that's not the truth. I've probably got roughly around about 180-ish students, okay? Just 5-6 weeks ago, we did a celebration evening of their abilities, and so many of them were playing genuinely really good stuff. And two of the highlights, well, I guess there were so many highlights, but I'll talk about the two that kind of embraced rock. We had one guy there, turned up with his Boss Katana, his Squire Bullet Strat, and he played Highway to Hell along with the backing track to this room full of parents. You know, it was awesome. And the other guy he turned up with his Gibson SG copy and his, I don't know what, it's like a Fender like practice amp, and he played Back in Black all the way through, backed up the solo, you know, along with the track, and it sounded great. And there was a real inspiration. And again, I've got so many students and parents who come up to me and saying, right, it's their birthday coming, it's their Christmas coming, they really want an electric guitar. You know, the other day I was going through a student, like, song choices, and I went through all the obvious. Do you want to do Thinking Out Loud by Ed Sheeran? Do you want to do this by whoever? And then I said, or we could do Don't Stop Believing by Journey, or we could do Highway to Hell. That's what they wanted to do. So I don't think rock music's dead. I think rock music is possibly in the best place it's been in for years. We've just got to help push it through. So yeah, if you're watching this and you actually genuinely wondered if rock music is dead, no, I reckon we're safe. And let's not forget the YouTube guitarists, drummers, bass players, singers. There's some excellent rock music on YouTube, which again, everyone's like, oh no, it's rubbish. You know, the amount of people that moan about Stevie T and Jared Dines just because they put a bit of comedy into their videos, who cares? It doesn't matter. You know, Weird Al Yankovic was like one of the biggest rock artists for years and years and years. Everyone thought he was hysterical. So I think all we're doing is seeing, like, the cocoon is finally lifting off of rock music's hibernation state that it's been in for however long, and we're finally seeing some really great growth. So I, for one, I'm going to embrace it. I'm going to continue encouraging my students to listen to it as much as they possibly can, and yeah, I reckon we'll be all right. So thank you to everyone who commented on Facebook. Thank you to Anthony Couch. It was awesome for saying that video. I definitely want to sort of do a little bit more in the future. If you enjoyed today's video, please subscribe. I'm not going to lie, I'm not above begging. I love seeing the subscribe number go up. It just makes me really happy. Also, like the video, comment below if you've got something to add to what we said today, and then flick the notification bell so you find out when I upload in future. Thanks very much. Bye.